Hey, welcome to the Narrative Mindset Podcast. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing okay. Um, Today's episode, I want to talk about something it's really simple, but I want to elaborate a little bit on it, right? So we all we know what it means now, but when we were growing up, your parents had this set of rules, right? It was don't you couldn't run in and out. You couldn't run in and out the house, or else they made you stay in. You had a set of rules when you went somewhere. Don't be hungry. Don't be thirsty. Don't have to use the bathroom. Don't touch nothing. Don't go into another room unless you're invited. If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. Don't let nobody play with your stuff because they'll probably tear it up. And then with your cousins, it was a whole list of stuff. And at the time, we all probably thought of it as you were a kid, so you really didn't put much, uh, you really didn't put much stock into it, right? But as we get older as adults, you start to see a world of adults that, I'm not sure where the disconnect was, but we got older and we just took those rules and threw them out the window. And another thing that I think about a lot relating to that particular subject is if you take a person's conversation, right? Take their conversation for the entire day. 95% of their conversation is about somebody else. Let that sink in for a minute. Another thing relating to that particular subject is, and I'm not sure when this happened. I'm not sure. But we actually sit up and have conversations and we'll get in our feelings because of something that somebody else is doing that has nothing to do with us, doesn't affect us, we're not paying for, we're not making any money off of, but we're still on the other side of that fence in our feelings because another person is doing what they choose to do. I mean, this is America. If I'm not making any money off of it, it's not affecting me. It's not, I'm not, we're not having sexual relations. It's not my child. I'm not making no money off of it. It didn't happen in my house. Didn't happen in my car. Yada yada yada. I could care less because when you think about it, it makes absolutely no sense. And you would think that adults would be able to, see that very clear, but that's not the case. And, we have it's turned into a worldwide kind of in your feelings when you don't have to be because it has nothing to do with you type of thing. It's really crazy. And I mean, I hate to say this, but from my daughter's generation on going forward, my daughter's generation, my granddaughter's generation going forward, I only see it getting worse. But back to what I was saying in the first part of this episode, you had home rules, and I can remember with my mother, all we had at home was cornbread and pinto beans. No Kool-Aid. Always had sugar. No Kool-Aid. Just sugar. We was eating cornbread, pinto beans. I think we might have had maybe some greens and some chicken, maybe. But the cornbread wasn't sweet cornbread. It was the other kind, a bland tasting kind. And we would go over this lady. She was a friend of my mother's. Her name was Miss Lacey. We used to go over there. Oh my God. She would be cooking a full-fledged soul food meal. And we go over there, we would be so hungry. So hungry. Make me 2 or 3 plates. But back then, you knew what the rules were. And even though, she was older than my mother, so she could kind of talk to my mother different. So she'd offer us some food, and I'd look dead at my mother. Like, no, that fried chicken look good, but it ain't worth the whooping I'm gonna get when I get home. I ain't got time for that. So Miss Lacey would say, girl, go ahead, let them kids eat. And then my mother would look at us, and I'm looking at her like, I'm waiting on your go ahead or no, because I ain't moving until I hear specifically, yeah, go ahead. And it's because you said go ahead, not because I'm asking for food or nothing. But that used to be the killer part, because that didn't always happen. Sometimes it was, no, they good. Stomach growling and everything. It was crazy. But now I want to tie in the two things that I said together. It just makes me think about, what kind of world would it be if everybody, followed rules, real simple rules. If you don't have something good to say, don't say nothing at all. LGBT, whatever, it's like, who cares? Why do they have laws about what they do? It's only affecting them in what they do. If they want to, 2 women want to get married, who cares? To be honest, if that's what makes them happy, go ahead and do you. But we've created laws, so we've gone past being in a business, and now we've created laws around. Well, you can't get married in this state or whatever. They got to go to a whole totally different state to do what the hell they want to do that ain't affecting nobody else. Let that sink in, because that's just, it's crazy. How we have, how we're, in my opinion, I think that we're destroying our own area, our own economy. Because we forget that, my generation will be off the map, 30, 40 years. And my daughter's generation, they take over. Then my granddaughter's generation, that's I don't know. It's really scary to even think about what this world will be like. What we'll say 100 years from now. What kind of world will my great grandchildren, what kind of world will they grow up in? And it just that was just something I was thinking about about home rules, and how really simply following them I believe would change America. But that's it for this episode. That's one I wanted to get off my chest. I was thinking about it. Have a good day.